It's episode 3 of the Buffalo Bills Creator Mock Draft Series, and I think you're about to like this guest. Yo ho ho, Bills Mafia. Welcome to yet another edition of the Dom Mafia Show. As always, your host, Dan Mitchell. Say this you're new here. I'm an avid member of the Bills Mafia, and I regularly put out videos by the Buffalo Bills and the NFL in general. If that is your cup of tea, I highly recommend subscribing and joining the family, and as always, smashing the ever-living out of that like button. Now, one of my favorite creators on the platform today comes from Buffalo Fanatics and goes by the name of Rico. I am sure you have seen this man's live streams throughout the past couple of years, and him and I have developed quite a friendship since I started this whole YouTube journey. So I could not think of anybody better to include for episode 3 of our series to start building up some hype for the draft coming up tomorrow. So without further ado, Rico, ladies and gentlemen. Rico from Buffalo Fanatics is joining in on the YouTube Creator Mock Draft Series on the channel, and also a hashtag draft Bijan Robinson at all costs individual.
Listen, we need impact players. I don't know how. Listen, I have a show that's coming this Tuesday, and I mean, I might as well let the cat out of the bag. I mean, let's talk about the playoff games that we've lost.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down why we lost those games. And what is it about those games that we lost that we're like, man, we need to add this piece or this reason as to why we lost. And we've been doing it as of late. And now we lose to the Bengals and we absolutely get crushed. So I'm going to try to break it down and find out where we need the impact. And I'll tell you right now,
I guarantee you, no run game.
There's a glaring need at a position that a lot of folks talk about. Nah, not so much. So I guess we'll wait till Tuesday. But I'm excited to be on here, my man, with the Dom Mafia. We here, baby. Let's do it. And let's roll, baby. Let's get this thing popping.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So we discussed this before we started, that there's no trade ups, no trade downs on this channel, at least for my first 2 guests. So let's just hop right on in. Some of the normal names are being taken off the board. Our boy Bijan's gone in the 18th at this point. Some wide receivers are off the table. But currently, Rico, this is where we are sitting at number 27. Where are we thinking? What are the Bills doing? Say that we don't make any moves to get out of 27.
So first move? Let's look at, because it's hard for me to see it from you can see it way clearer than I can. So
gotcha.
Who out of let's talk about linebackers.
Gotcha.
Any linebackers gone?
So as of right now, what's remaining on the board is Jack Campbell, who is an absolute favorite of a lot of Buffalo Bills personalities. There's Drew Sanders, who is a sleeper pick, and then Deion Henley and Trenton. With any other linebacker that's been gone,
those are your 3. Those are your 3 big boys.
Yeah, those right there. But this is your draft, baby. So I'm like, we want the Rico draft right here.
All right. So those are your linebackers that are there. So that's a good sign. Bijan is gone, which I'm very disappointed to hear. But I anticipated that. I anticipate that he'd be gone. The Eagles look really good, but also the Eagles are apparently shopping and trying to get Derrick Henry on their squad.
I saw that.
Absolutely nasty, which would make sense for them because they still run the ball very well and they throw the ball very well. You'd think that the Bills would adopt that pattern of running the ball evenly, throwing the ball evenly, and just having a nice mix. But I mean, some people will say, but we're more balanced than you think. Yeah, but when you watch the film, not so much. But anyway, neither here nor there. So let's go to the receiver room right now.
Let's check it out. Who's available?
Go to the receiver room. So who's my top? Give me my top 4 because you're my eyes right now.
Yeah, man, most definitely. We have a Josh Downs out of North Carolina. We have Nathaniel Dell. We have Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee, and then Cedric Tillman.
Okay, so here's the deal. I really like Jalen Hyatt. I think that he presents some speed. He's not an entirely small guy. And in this game, you don't have to be the 6'4", 6'5" receiver like your Mike Evans and your Megatrons of back in the day. It's about separation these days. And Jalen Hyatt presents dog mentality. He can get after it. He can, you know what I'm saying? What is he, 6'2"?
He's 6 foot 176, but still solid size.
Sorry, he's 6 feet. So 6 feet is right around the range that I like. I like a 5'10" to 6 feet receiver, not too big of a receiver, not too more big in stature. We have that, our guy in 6'2" in our guy, Mr. Gabe Davis. So I want to take Jalen Hyatt. I want to take Jalen Hyatt. We brought him in for a visit. He would be a perfect match with Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs. But then here's a question for you, right? And I've asked this in the group chat as well. You look at the receiver room, and you got Gabe Davis that's going into his final year of his deal, and you know he's going to want everything thrown his way. He's going to want to ball out. This is last year. He's trying to make his money. You know he's going to do well.
Mm-hmm.
Stephon Diggs shows up every time. There's no question about that, right? The slot receiver, you would think Khalil Shakir is going to get his opportunity. We brought in Deontay Hardy for some speed, and we got Sherfield. I think it was Sherfield that we brought in from the Dolphins. So you're bringing a Hyatt. Where is Hyatt going to fit in? Is he going to take away snaps from Gabe Davis? Probably not. Are you going to give him snaps over Khalil Shakir? Shakir going into his second year, and we're all excited about Khalil Shakir. So does it make sense for us to grab a receiver in the first round?
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, my entire philosophy is that we all know that Sean McDermott absolutely despises rookies. So even if we were to get Jalen Hyatt, we probably wouldn't even see him be a contributor to this offense until about like week 12, week 13. However, I do see him being a very valuable asset off to the offside, or out to the outside rather, because like, I mean, so let's be honest with ourselves here. Gabe Davis is way, way more effective at a wide receiver 3, subpar wide receiver 2, not a solidified wide receiver number 2. When we called his number to be that last year, he just didn't show up the way that we anticipated him to. So I could certainly see him being an impact player going on immediately. I love Jalen Hyatt. My perspective, I'm looking over it. Looks like he's like ranked right now at like 55, which is more of like a mid-round second.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, more than likely, most mock drafts I've been seeing, if we stay at 27, we're going to have to reach. I mean, we're going to have to reach, whether or not that we go with a linebacker or we go with a Jalen Hyatt wide receiver, because these first round grades just aren't there once you surpass the 20th pick in this first round. So a lot of teams are going to be reaching.
Perfect. And I'm glad that you brought that up. So now it brings me to the trenches. So can you go to the defensive line /DT?
Oh no, Dan, not another ad read. Trust me, you are going to thank me for this. Now, as many of you know, I work extremely, extremely long hours, 7 a.m. until I about pass out at 11 or midnight Monday through Friday. And you would think that I would be able to go to sleep and rejuvenate. You're absolutely wrong. My mind is still going a million miles a second, and for the most part, I'm staring at my ceiling until 3 a.m. Now, that is something that I have accepted for myself, but I needed to make a change. I needed to start taking naps, but once again, I can't nap either. Whether or not that it's my FOMO, or whether or not that I just can't get comfortable enough, or it's too bright, I have had no such luck until I ended up finding the Manta sleep mask. Now, little do you know, Manta truly believes sleep needs to be the #1 priority in order to achieve that particular level of success. Now, these things are ridiculously comfortable, and literally the second that you put it on, you feel like you're right next to Aaron Rodgers during one of his darkness retreats. I mean, look at this. Literally can't see shit. So you know what? I should probably apply to officiate in the NFL. Prerequisites right here. Now, Manta has several selections on their website. This particular is the Sleep Mask Pro. This company and this mask has really been able to help me prioritize what is most important, and that is my sleep, so I can keep on giving you that juicy content, baby. So whatever you're doing, go to that link in my bio and make sure you put in the code Don Mafia, and they're going to give you an extra 10% off your first order. Trust me, you will not regret this. Night, night, bitches. Defensive line DT. Yeah. Let's talk about it. That's been a sleeper need as well, because our depth, and I mean, half of those guys, they're coming up on contracts next year, man. Like we're not about to have a defensive line here in a little bit.
This is what I'm talking about. So these are the things that factor in. So right now we have Will McDonald IV is available.
He is.
Is another question that I pose to people. Do we draft for need, or do we take best player available? And right now, Will McDonald IV being available on the edge with Von Miller on the outside looking in and not going to be available, we have an absolute stud in Will McDonald available to be drafted. So you're like, the defensive end. But then you have guys that are supposed to come up. 6.5 sacks coming from I'm thinking of who 6.5 sacks. I'm losing my mind here. Not Rousseau, Epinesa. Epinesa had 6.5 sacks last year. People are like, what? Really? 6.5 sacks?
So the quietest 6.5 sack season I think anybody has ever had.
absolute quietest. But most people are like, I know the film, I've seen the film, and he's not too much of an impact for me. I think that maybe we might be sleeping on Epinesa. Maybe comes in and has a monster year, following up on what we did last year. So then we look at the edge, right? We're looking at Greg Rousseau. Greg Rousseau had 8 sacks last year, missed a couple games, and we're gonna need more from him. So I'm like, but Von Miller's not gonna be playing. I don't think he's gonna start for week 1. So pressure is what we need. Will McDonald fills a need. And then I'm looking at Mozzie Smith. And there's so many.
Ooh, that's a name. That is a name right there.
Folks. So Mozzie Smith. Now, here's where I was asking about, okay, impact player. Who can come into the game right now and potentially get meaningful snaps? Mozzie Smith absolutely can. Daquan, you got Tim Settle, right? We got some guys that were rotational pieces, but Tim Settle really did he ring the bell for you? He certainly didn't ring the bell for me. Daquan Jones definitely did the job. I love what Daquan was able to do. So now it brings me back to I needed to bring this up because there's so many avenues that we can hit, but I need impact. I need someone to give me firepower. And what helps this team right now is the defense. And I'm going to go to the linebacker spot, and I need to edge rush. I need to get after the quarterback. I need somebody that's versatile. So give me linebacker Drew Sanders.
Ooh.
Yeah, you put him up there. And I know
I like that.
Most people are gonna be like, well, why? Why would you go Drew Sanders? And why would you? Let me tell you why I'm going Drew Sanders. Right? Drew Sanders gives you the ability to not only be an aggressive linebacker, thud linebacker that can go in and disrupt and cause problems, but if we need that extra little pass rush that we haven't been getting from our defensive line, this is where you get it. We're now having a different a play caller. We have the more passive play caller in Frazier gone. The more aggressive play caller in Sean McDermott coming in. Why not get yourself a dog of a linebacker, Drew Sanders, to the Bills at pick 27? Let's roll.
Let's book it, man. That's interesting, man. I'm not going to lie to you. I feel like everyone is high on Jack Campbell, right? But I mean, I'm definitely getting your sentiment here where it doesn't matter what we end up putting into our defensive line. If there's one piece that goes out, and that was proven exactly last year once Von Miller went down. I mean, we went to like very highly ranked in the league for QB pressures, and just one guy leaves our defensive line, and we just literally go down to the basement in just about every single category. That's interesting. I like that a lot.
You got it. Listen, and the drafting it's like a science, but it's a crapshoot at the same time. And you look at your board and you find out who's available and what fits. Because I'll tell you this, and Bill Polian, I'm not a big fan of Bill Polian, but Bill Polian has a philosophy, and he has a philosophy that's worked for him because he's had success in his career. And he says you don't ever draft for need. You draft for best player available. And I understand that. And my interpretation of that is you draft for need. Let's just say, you know what, receiver back in 2014? Was it 2014 when we drafted Sammy Watkins? Yep. We drafted for need, and we moved up to draft for that. So we lost some capital. And then when we draft for need, so now you're sitting there with Sammy Watkins. That's a brittle Sammy Watkins. He had a great year. Rookie year was solid. Second year was solid. And then after that, fell off, right? So now you've given up some picks to draft for need. If you drafted best player available, you know who was sitting there? Khalil Mack was sitting there, and you could have chosen Khalil Mack. But here we are with Sammy Watkins. So, if I'm remembering correctly, I think Khalil Mack was the draft that we decided to bypass him and went for Sammy Watkins. So that's what I mean by you drafted for need and you got burned there somewhat when you could have drafted Khalil Mack, and Khalil Mack would have been a perfect fit for the Bills. We needed someone that was an impact player, and that would have been the pick. So anyways, we go into our second round.
Best player available mentality, man. I love it.
Available, and you got it, but you got to be nice at your job. You know what I'm saying? So like you might think that this player is the best player available, and he's a bum. So this is where your evaluation, your guys doing the scouting, your guys going out there and you know what I'm saying, in the field, you got to trust what they're bringing back to you. So hopefully that's what the drafting team for the Bills are doing. So we're in the second round now. So now we've filled a need and best player available, in my opinion, with the 27th pick with Drew Sanders. So now, where do we sit? What do we do? Well, this is where Nathaniel Dell comes in. Now, I'm looking at Tank Dell, and I like Tank Dell. I know he's not the biggest. He's not the biggest. He's 5'8", 165.
Short king. That's cool.
You know, it's short king. I like that. But I'm gonna tell you this though, man. I know we have someone in similar with Deontay Hardy, but Deontay Hardy has had, you know what I'm saying, his I don't want to say fair share, but he's been dinged up a couple times, right? But we do have speed in Deontay Hardy. But at 5'6", Deontay Hardy, you know what I'm saying, is he as fresh as a Tank Dell? And Tank Dell has gone up against some good guys. And the one film, if you want to put it up there, him going up against Sauce Gardner, he held his own. And Sauce Gardner ain't a joke. So to me, in the second round, if Tank Dell is still there, I'm not waiting for the third for him to be up. I can't do it. We only have 6 picks. Give me Tank Dell, receiver. Let's go.
Tank Dell, man.
Tank Dell.
Listen, I love this draft. It's been a lot different from the others, but
Let me guess. The others are give me the linebacker, give me the O lineman. Listen, we brought in 2 O linemen at guard. One of them is a borderline starter.
Yeah,
right? Can be really good, and the other out of McGovern can be depth. He's gonna have to battle. He's gonna have to battle for that spot when it comes down to it. So we'll see how that plays out. So here we are in the third
round 3.
Round 3. This is where it gets tricky. This is where it gets really tough on who to take, where to go from there. So here's the deal. You look at your team and you find out, okay, where do we have our needs? So let's go to the tight end room. Is there anybody in the tight end room? What do we seen that? And I bring you here because I'm looking at who we have, and I like who we have in our. We got Quentin Morris, and I'm gonna start from the bottom. We got Quentin Morris, and Quentin Morris has shown some good things, but obviously he's a lower end guy. And then we got our guy Dawson Knox, and Dawson Knox paid like a big time tight end, but I feel like we didn't get the production. We didn't get the value out of $14 million that we're paying Dawson Knox. And there's no disrespect to Dawson Knox, but I know the market. But $14 million, when you look at what he's given us, I'm like, is he worth that $14 million?
Yeah.
You start thinking about that. So I'm looking at the tight end room. So Luke Shoemaker's there. He's all right. David Strange. I see Zach Kuntz there. Yeah. That's a hell of a last name. You got Payne Durham there. Let's go to the trenches. Let's go to the O line. I need to see who's and more specifically at tackle. At tackle. So here's what we have at tackle. All right. So now I actually made my screen bigger so I can actually see on the screen here, so I can see who's there. And let's go to the interior of the line.
Yeah, we'll include that in this.
Yeah, let's do that. Perfect. All right. So O-line, I feel like we're set. I don't think we're gonna go anywhere in O-line, but it doesn't hurt. It really doesn't hurt to really look to see what's available. And I'm looking at Andrew Voorhees. I've seen some good things, and I've heard some good things about Andrew Voorhees, but I feel like we're set on the O-line. I don't think we're going to add any depth pieces unless it's late in the round. So round 3 is very tricky because you want this player to be a developmental player, but also you want him to hit the field. So I'm looking at the running back room. And if you go to the running back room for me, please, and thank you. It seems like we'd be all right? So Chase Brown's there, Deuce Vaughn's there, Condre Mitter. So a lot of the guys that I would have liked are gone. So this is where shit is getting a little tight right now. But you got to go back to where our needs are. So receiver, I think we're okay at receiver. I don't think that we need much more help at the receiver room. Running back room seems to be all right. If we go to the tight end room, do we help Josh Allen even more? Or do we go to the edge on the defensive side of the ball? So let's check out the defensive side of the ball and see who's out there.
So we have edges, and then we'll put DL as well.
And DIs, okay, and defensive interior. Oh man, so this is where we've got to go best player available at this point. Cornerback, I thought about cornerback, but that I don't think we need to touch that cornerback room. Safety, we've got some older guys.
We do.
So let's hit the safety room if you don't mind.
Let's hit it.
Let's hit the safety room if you don't mind. So, okay, so Kobe Turner is still available. Let me see if I got that right. I just got to make sure. All right, so Anthony Johnson is there. Anthony Johnson is still there.
This might be valuable right there. Okay. Solid coverage grade.
It is. So here's the thing with Anthony Johnson. I've done very little information on Anthony Johnson, but I've heard some good things. I've read some good things about him. We've got 2 guys that are in above 30. All right. So we've got to start looking at depth. So we brought in Pratt. We've got our guy coming back. So I'm looking at the safety room. You know what? Give me Johnson, man. Give me Johnson in the third.
It's Anthony Johnson.
Give me Johnson in the third.
Let's do it.
Now, listen, I'm gonna keep it a buck. This is where it's gonna get dicey. It's gonna get dicey from here on out.
Yeah, well, this was only a 3 round,
which is fine. So, and I get afraid when I get down to there. So they don't really like my Drew Sanders, and I don't give a damn if they don't like it. Nathaniel Dell, I love that pick, and I think it's good value in it at that 2nd round pick.
Okay,
and 3rd round is tough. I could go interior, but you know what? Safety is what I'm looking at. I need depth. I need guys that when Anthony Johnson is ready, and Iowa just keeps pumping out solid freaking players, I'm sticking to it. Give me Anthony Johnson in the 3rd. Let's call it a day. We've gone and looked for stuff for the future, and we've got some immediate help.
And I'm like you said, the draft's a gamble, man. It's a giant roll of the dice.
Haters.
Yeah, dude. We have no idea exactly how any of these players are going to transition from the 1st round all the way down to the 7th.
Too tough.
I mean, it's rough. And I mean, I was talking to Z-Bot about this the other day as well, and he was saying, oh man, like my 1st round was like a C-. I literally feel every single mock draft I've done and I've selected somebody at 27, it's been no more than a C+.
There you go.
It's just it's really hard to find talent that late in the round, especially with this class going into it. So these mock draft gurus are going to literally critique whoever you pick at 27 because the talent's just not there once you end up getting past like 2021 and all the big names are off the board.
It's true. And I mean, I talk to my man Bobby all the time, and he's very much into the draft. And he's like, this is not a strong draft. This is not a draft where you're like, wow, there's a great talent everywhere. It's just not. So you've got to pick your guys that you like and hope for the best. And that's why I don't think that Brandon Beane's going to trade down. I don't think the value's there for him to trade down.
Now, here's something, and I actually want to hear your take on this because these rumors were on fire a couple of months ago. They slowed down, but now they're back.
Okay.
All right? For DeAndre Hopkins. A lot of Bills fans are salivating over it right now, man. Arizona just came out and said that they want a 2nd round pick. Yeah. Is that something you would entertain? Would you like it, or is it not worth it?
Definitely entertain. I'll tell you. I'll tell you. If you look at what he gives you, right? He gives you a receiver 1 ability. He can still separate. He's still one of the best in the game. And you're giving up a 2nd round. Go look in the 2nd round and tell me who's on the level of D Hop right now.
1,000%.
No. So you give that up. You give that 2nd round up, and you get your receiver, and let's go. You know what I'm saying? Now, I purposely didn't do trading because I don't want any parts of it. I mean, really, if I really wanted to, they're asking for I think they were asking for a 1st. I've heard between a 1st all the way down to a 4th and 5th. So if they would have took a 3rd for D-Hop, then shoot, I'm taking that. But then I have to change my second pick. But either way, I'm happy with how things are. Give me Tank Dell, give me my guy Sanders, and I'll take Anthony Johnson, AJ, and let's roll.
It's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Rico from the Buffalo Fanatics. Definitely appreciate you coming on, man.
Always,
and let's hope both you and I are very pleased Bills fans once Saturday evening concludes.
It's going to be crazy, man. Are you going to be streaming the whole event, or what's the word?
Yeah, man, most definitely. We have on the AFC's roundtable, we're doing a pre-show for each and every single day, and then I'll be streaming my live reaction. I'm just going to be hunkered down right on my couch watching the draft. And what about yourself? You as well over at Buffalo Fanatics?
We're going to be streaming it, man. So we're going to be streaming it. So 1st round, we're going to do it. 2nd round, and obviously day 2, we're going to be doing that. And then the toughest of the 3 days is
it's a hard watch, man.
Oh, it's a hard watch.
Very, very hard watch.
Talk about it. Like, yo, who the F is that?
Right.
We'll see. You know what I mean? When we drafted Terrell Bernard, I said, what?
Who?
Terrell Bernard. I'm like,
all right,
who
the hell is that guy, man? Oh man.
Yeah, man, that's it, man. So that's we'll be streaming. So I'll be peeping to see how you guys do as well, and we'll go from there, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. Listen, once again, thank you for coming on. Go Bills.
Go Bills. Let's go.